Crusoe's comment was accurate here, if a bit obvious. I did need to get out of town, and not in the till things blow over kind of way they already had for the most part, more so in the return to factory settings kind of way. I am highly susceptible and sensitive to ennui, and if it gets me into a headlock, a lot of times I just opt to lose my head, which, don't get me wrong, can be fun for a time. It needs to be a limited series though, anything more than a season, and I end up stewing in the same subject matter. I lose my work ethic, and then eventually I spiral into whatever abyss is available to me. And I tend to do fine in gutters as long as I don't stay in the same one too long. I think Crusoe sensed that, and that I was in need of a change of scenery at that time. I'd been out here leaning on cheap thrills like shadow boxing on billboard catwalks, trying to get featured in passersby's stories, and I got to sending unhinged DMs to loose acquaintances in the wee hours, presumably just to see their reaction and or to have a puzzle to wake up to in the afternoon. That is, deciphering whatever it was I was trying to get across in the messages, if anything. A lot of ones and zeros, a lot of non sequiturs that probably all amounted to one question, which is, if I'm not charming anymore, do I still exist? And I still don't have an answer to that. But anyway, when it gets like that, a hard reset is in order, and as far as treatment goes, international travel's a great option. It just wasn't much of an option for me at that time, and it still isn't really. I'm kind of anchored here right now, waiting for some of the accolades I've won the past couple of years to become more public, i.e. more real. One of those, of course, being breaking the world record for the most on-screen deaths of a single character in a single 90-minute live-action coming-of-age in your 30s buddy comedy time travel slasher. And yeah, if I disappear now, I have no assurances that when I resurface, it's going to make a splash. And yes, I do love the idea of Nepal or Thailand. I just know that whenever I do end up in that neck of the woods, I'm going to stumble on my own League of Shadows situation, and I'm going to get stuck in some off-grid mountain fortress trying to master some ancient fighting practice. And I'll be missing and off social media long enough to where anybody in the Atlanta scene who has the habit of casting me in things is going to have to assume I'm dead. And then they're just going to give these roles to that kid, Alex Bilbrey. Yeah, he comes a little too close to my on-screen shtick for comfort, and I don't feel comfortable letting him gain any more ground than he already has. What I did have was a 5-day window before pickups in Conyers when I had to reshoot my death scene for that horror movie where I play a high school bully who was misprescribed human growth hormones. And sure, I guess I could have spent a few days in Turkey before that, but I recall a psychic telling me once that she had a vision of me dying there, so I'll probably reserve that trip for later in life. And I just didn't feel like squeezing 2 intercontinental flights into a single work week. It didn't sound relaxing to me. Luckily, I am fortunate enough to live just 1 state north of one of the most foreign places in the contiguous United States, so I rented a compact SUV and headed south as a small gesture to whatever Crusoe had in mind. I drove down to Florida hoping to find a new flow state, to put some demons to sleep so I can stop beating those dead horses no one saw die like I did, to have my first beer down here where Aileen had her last. And today's the first day of the rest of my life, said a bumper sticker, unconcerned with being original. Maybe I was supposed to read and concede to that, stop playing around with the past. And maybe I'm here not to behold so much as to be held by majestic kitsch and heated pools outside palaces I jaywalk through game trails to get to. Maybe I came to be seen and supported through that exorcism in Port Orange on karaoke night at the Doghouse. Yeah, if you know me, you know that leisure makes me anxious unless I drink myself into paralysis. And if I do get to it in a wholesome way, I have to be killing 2 to 4 birds with 1 stone. And if detachment is a bird on that hit list, it always seems to be the one that gets away, if a bit bruised.
Put some hands together, everybody, prepare!
Marley told me she had a family thing in Fort Lauderdale, and she suggested that I pick her up after that and we would drive down to Key West together. And it was an immediate yes on my part, precisely because it checked more than one box. Not only would it be good to see her and catch up, but I was well aware that Key West has a rich literary history, and I couldn't think of a better place in the state of Florida to reconnect with my roots. Remind myself that I'm not just a D-list actor skulking around Atlanta waiting on big breaks from my benefactors, but that I am a writer first and foremost, and so is Marley, for that matter.
Wait, do you do couplets? I can't remember.
I do similes.
A writer, I mean, I can't say if she's one first and foremost. I don't know where she stands on being a daughter, a sister, or a friend. I'm only one of those, and I think most people would agree I'm a better writer than I am a friend. So yeah, after stopping in Port Orange and talking to locals ad nauseum about getting more bang for my buck,
Started going up to $6, $7, and it's
In
like,
New
what
York,
the hell
they're
is
like
going on? I
fucking
gotta
$20
start
a
rolling my
pack,
own.
all because of their fucking tax system over there.
I decided to reframe the trip as a poetry retreat / workshop for two, and thereby write off all of my expenses.
I will pull the brand name. I will get that to you. But it'll do, if I haul ass on it, I can do a carton in about 45 minutes, maybe 50 minutes.
I decided that this would be the trip where I changed the tenor of my poetry and graduated to the next phase. And I assumed Marley would be on board, but when I scooped her up from her family's timeshare, she said my energy was off. I think she was on acid or something like that. And I started playing John Kerry's Little History of Poetry on Audible as we crossed the overseas highway, thinking that might put her in the right headspace.
Swart-headed mulberries, wild freeborn
I kind of want to
cranberries,
like stop somewhere
crab
and get in the
apples,
water.
dewberries, pineapples,
We
blackberries.
still have 69
So
miles
it goes
of this
on,
to go.
a
so there's
relentless
plenty
battery of
time.
lusciousness.
I'll try not to talk.
Ultimately, she insisted that the poetry retreat angle was something I would have to approach alone, and that the part of the trip that constituted our reunion would be for catching up and letting loose exclusively. And at first I was disappointed she wasn't going to show me her recent work and let me give her constructive criticisms, but when we made it to Hemingway's old haunt, Hog's Breath, I did have to concede that Key West might not be a literary place anymore. I could see that the trip was going to be centered more on self-indulgence, and making it anything other than that would have to be done in post. So yeah, all I needed to do was party and get B-roll of us partying, and apply enough sunscreen and make sure that whatever I put into my body didn't affect my jawline too much, as I did have movie pickups to consider and the continuity therein. If I gain weight here, it'll be in pounds, and I'll have asked for it. Not in the Giles Corey way. I don't have sons, and if I did, they'd have nothing to inherit, except maybe the mistakes I plan to keep making. And if I gain weight here, it'll be in pursuit of less self-awareness, less self. It's things like that that weigh on me, and I'm here looking to get my rocks off. As long as I have something to show for it, letting loose is not something I have trouble doing. Marley knows this all too well. She also knows that if the something I'm aiming to show for it is my ability to laugh through grief,
3, 2, 1, picture. Just kidding. It's a video.
letting loose can mean her having to at least attempt to carry my comatose body out of the woods near First Dam. Yeah, we met in Ithaca, and when the lizard people up there were pulling strings and painting me into a corner, she was the one who recognized my humanity, even when I had lost sight of it. And ultimately, she suspended her neutrality and ushered me through the ordeal with my spirit, however marginally intact. And I owe her a great deal for that, so I did commit to letting loose in a lighter way for this trip. I would wait until she decided to turn in to hit the town's underbelly in search of whatever after-hours seediness would give me the juiciest B-roll, some of which was deleted by bouncers, and I would make sure to have a designated driver get me back to the hotel before she woke up so as not to worry her.
This whole nightlife scene is really dark, and I don't know if I have the capacity to take it on.
Dark as in what?
Dark as in like a lot of lost innocence, a lot of lost youth, a lot of lost dreams, just total resignation to degeneracy and...
Okay, because I was saying like maybe just take off your sunglasses.
I ran out of cash last night, and I didn't run out so much as give it all to a stripper. She deserved it though, if you were to ask me. Let me pretend we were in love and that I was successful enough to promise her things. And we made out melodramatic-like as I was getting thrown out, and I wasn't getting thrown out so much as carried by Dimitri, who I think, to be fair, isn't pretending to be in love, and it isn't fair. But when he put me down back on the street, we followed each other on Instagram and laughed and agreed that perfect nights don't exist, just moments. Anyway, I made it back to Atlanta in time for pickups. I was a bit more bloated, a bit more tan, but it was negligible. Nobody was pissed about it. Yeah, all said and done, I don't know that I got everything I needed out of this trip. It was just 5 days. But Marley, if you're watching this, know that there's only so much you can do for me and my headspace. Next time we see each other, I hope that I'm one letter closer to the beginning of the alphabet RE actor listings, in which case I will be able to afford us, at the very least, a fancier ghost tour in a city of your choosing. It'll be a good time. In closing, let me just say, my dear friend, what is this our life? A boat that swims in the sea, and all one knows for certain is that one day it will capsize. Here we are, two good old boats that have been faithful neighbors, and above all, your hand has done its best to keep me from capsizing. Let us then continue our voyage, each for the other's sake. What I wish for myself, I wish for you too, and I'm sorry that my gratitude can find expression only in such a wish, and has no influence at all on wind or weather. And full disclosure, those aren't my words. That came from Nietzsche in a letter to some guy named Franz Overbeck. And I would have written you a letter, or more pertinent to this video essay, a poem, but I didn't want you or your boyfriend to misconstrue that. So yeah, I will see you at the next harbor or in the fort that guards it.